Today's guest is John Shin, cybersecurity executive, entrepreneur, and founder and managing director of RSI Security. For more than 2 decades, John has advised enterprises and highly regulated organizations on cybersecurity strategy, compliance, and risk management, helping leadership teams move beyond check-the-box security towards real resilience. Under his leadership, RSI Security has become a trusted advisory firm supporting organizations navigating complex regulatory and threat environments. John has contributed research to the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory, is a member of the Forbes Technology Council, and has been recognized for his work at the intersection of AI and cybersecurity innovation. He's also a strong advocate for raising cybersecurity awareness, founding initiatives focused on education and practical best practices. Grounded in his belief that cybersecurity isn't just about protecting systems, it's about enabling trust. Today we explore leadership, talent, culture, and what it really takes to evolve cybersecurity from a defensive function into a strategic business advantage. John, welcome to the IT Masters podcast.
Welcome to the IT Masters podcast, where technology leaders share their strategies shaping the future of IT. Hosted by Robert DeVita, CEO of Magetics. We bring you candid conversations with CIOs, CTOs, and enterprise architects who are driving digital information, from AI-driven security to cloud innovation and IT modernization. We cut through the noise to bring you real insights from the brightest minds in tech. No sales pitches, no fluff, just thought-provoking discussions with the masters of IT. Subscribe now and join the conversation. The IT Masters Podcast, where the best in IT share their journey.
John, for listeners who may not know your full background, how do you describe what you do today and the lens that you bring to cybersecurity and IT leadership?
Well, Robert, glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me. What do we do? Well, we provide cybersecurity advisory and assessment audit services. This is something that I've been passionate about for the last 20 plus years. I've studied computer science, started getting into cybersecurity, but I've been very passionate about this. So we do, cybersecurity risk assessment based audit for the customers. Anywhere between Fortune 500 companies to SMBs.
How long have you guys been doing this?
Well, as a founder of the firm, it's been about 9 years, the firm. And initially, we started providing consulting services, and then realized that there's a huge gap between compliance and security. So we stayed more focused on compliance side, which is more the floor and foundation, I believe, to be as part of the cybersecurity. Where cybersecurity is more of a ceiling and above. So we pretty much focus on compliance and security.
So 9 years ago, right? I think the cybersecurity landscape has changed dramatically from 9 years ago. But you saw, I guess, a gap in the market, right? Mm-hmm. What was sort of that gap that you saw and said, hey, you know what? I need to be able to help enterprise customers close gaps, and I need them to help them mediate risk.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the data show clearly. When I was head of global security solution for Fortune 500 companies, Verifone. It was a spin-off from HP. We had our client base as well, and I actually learned how to read risk for business rather than just cybersecurity technical risk. And the gap that I saw was translating what you actually see in the field and in the cybersecurity and technical field to all the way to the boardroom. And realized that, wow, there's a great talent out there and a lot of solutions out there, but translating that into the boardroom and to communicate to actually protect businesses, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to protect businesses, not firewall per se, which protect jobs and economy of this great country. So I think that that was kind of the aha moment for me. But also, I could see that there are more and more regulatory compliance, industry standards coming alive, because let's face it, Robert, security is something that nobody really wants to do.
Yep.
Nobody wake up in the morning, especially the C-suite. Oh, I'm gonna figure out a way to spend more money and protect our company from cyber attacks. It just doesn't occur to them. So to me, it's about how to get to the program where people have a structure to actually get to the result. Think about like a gym coach. People don't want to necessarily work out, but they need to do it.
Yep.
So how do you put that program together and structure? So I think that was another gap that identified.
When we look sort of 9 years ago, it seemed to me in my lens that the budgets were very tight from a cyber perspective unless there was a breach, and then you could have as much money as you wanted. Mm-hmm. I've seen that sort of switch over the last 9 years where people are being more proactive now with allocating budget. Are you guys seeing the same thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think when companies want to play long game and a very strategic, focused company, we see that as a business enabler rather than just reactive call center. So I think it really depends on the culture of the companies. So when we see our customers who are very mature in their program and want to proactively do this, yeah, we ask those questions, the budget cycle to where they want to accomplish this and where the roadmap and outcome. And when customers can articulate that, then we know that that's where we're headed. Versus, yeah, this happened last week and we need help right now. Of course, there's some maturity gap there. But we see definitely more and more because I think as a C-suite see that some CEO and CFO are going to jail and actually being held accountable personally, it's a wake-up call for the business. So they kind of look back and see what can we do with the security? Is it a business enabler? And how we can use this to weaponize against the attackers and bad actors out there. So I think that's happening in a good way.
Yeah, I think, we heard a lot, again, years ago that, we talked to customers about assessments and audits, and they're like, well, then I know what my gaps are and then I'm liable for them. Mm-hmm. We're seeing a lot less of that now, right? Mm-hmm. People being really more proactive in trying to close those holes that they have inside of their security posture. Mm-hmm. So I think we've come a long way in the last 9 years. And I think, it's firms like yours that are helping to drag and to lead customers that way. Mm-hmm. When you look back at the start of your career, what really drew you into technology?
Well, I was born and raised in Korea. You have to guess which side of Korea. By my southern accent, I'm from the south. I'm the south side of Korea,
which is great because you fit in the South and Texas.
There you go.
Very similar.
Yes. And I moved to this great country when I was 16, and but I was great with tech, and I was kind of math geek, but my teacher who saw that I was pretty good with math, she said, "Hey, there's something called cryptography, and you can use this for good." And that really kept me out of trouble, kept me focused. And I went on to college. I went to UC San Diego, and I found myself much more versed in breaking stuff than building applications. But back then, there's no cybersecurity program.
Yep.
Or
there's
degree.
No track. Yeah, there's no education or track.
Yeah. So a lot of us who are gamers and love to debug applications and code, it has kind of a group of us who really want to pursue that. So yeah, that was kind of the technology. But technology for me is for me it's like a martial art. Actually technology means skill and knowledge. That's what technology is. It's a combination of two words. So for me, when I look at technology, it's like showing up at dojo and practice that technology, because technology without skill, it doesn't do anything. That really drew me.
So in
technology.
In college or when you were younger, what was your greatest hacking feat?
My hacking feat?
Yeah. Did you break into anything cool?
My ethical hacking.
Yes.
This is off the record, right?
Yeah. You're good. You're good. It's not being recorded. You're fine.
Oh wow. Well, it's a long time ago. I was able to get into the school system.
I could have used you in high school.
And I got in trouble, but that trouble actually gave me some notoriety in a way that the computer teacher kind of took me as kind of the talent, and then apprentice for her. Yeah, so that was but that was no specific law against that per se.
At that time.
Yeah, at the time.
The statute of limitations has probably run out on you. So you're probably going to be okay. You talked a little bit about cybersecurity not just being a technical discipline, but it's a business leadership function, right? When did you see that change? How have you seen that evolve over time?
I think for me, I mean, obviously, I kind of grew up in the category of technology. I was a network engineer. In fact, my very first job out of college was in a night shift tech guy, IT, for a data center. And I was...
Which data center?
Inflow. It's part of SunGard now.
Yep.
And it was literally just me at night. And so I was a super techie. I love everything about technology, and especially within IT. But then the shift for me to the leadership was I got called into a boardroom to explain what was happening with this breach for one of the customers. And they were not talking about megabytes. They're talking about money. They're not talking about overflow, buffer overflow. They're talking about the financial impact. And I could not articulate any of them as a guy who's standing there with a lot of information about this attack. So I realized, wow, there's a tech side and there's a leadership side in a way that the translation needs to happen. So that really got me interested in, okay, what do I need to do to really grow into the leadership role? And a lot of it was communication. A lot of it was how to build a team and inspire them and keep it honest and hungry. So yeah, that was a transition for me.
We see that a lot, just the lack of translation from IT to executive leadership. And I think a lot of it is fear on their leadership side, where they don't understand the technology or the risk. And with that fear comes the inability to ask the tough questions to your security team. Mm-hmm. I think that's changing now over time as executives are getting smarter and educating themselves more around technology. But it was definitely where what we saw was the CEO or the CFO would leave the CISO alone, mm-hmm. Because he was supposed to be the smartest guy in the room. Mm-hmm. And then breaches occur and they realize, hey, we've had the wrong guy in the seat because we didn't even know how to interview this person correctly. Mm-hmm. We sort of just took it at face value. I think that's changed probably over the last 3 to 5 years, where there's more collaboration now from the IT team, segregating the CISO from IT and making them more autonomous, which also creates other frictions inside of the organization. Mm-hmm. But I think from a CISO perspective, it needs to sit outside of the core IT function. Mm-hmm. Do you feel the same way?
I think if you see the board structure and especially the C-suite, if you see the CISO reporting up to CIO, CFO versus reporting directly to the board, the accountability and dynamic of that boardroom complete shift. So yeah, I definitely agree with how the accountability and where the CISO role should be and principle. However, many times, CISO or director or VP of security fall under other operational role. So I think there's a room to change there.
Yeah. We've seen most of the high-risk customers be the smaller organizations mm-hmm. that are doing a lot of revenue but don't have a lot of people. And for some, they haven't gone to an MSSP. They're still trying to do it with duct tape and string. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, they're going out and having to facilitate Bitcoin transactions mm-hmm. to get their data back. Yeah. Are you guys seeing some of the same stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think the mindset right now in cybersecurity is, again, it's kind of afterthought. It's a reactive cycle. And I always share with our clients that if you treat security people or IT like mushroom versus sunflower, things are very different. So sunflower, we got to give them sun, foreground, a lot of attention and nourishment, versus mushroom, we keep them in shadow and give them a lot of shit. And that's how the mushrooms grow. So I always ask questions, how do you guys really see that? And I think having that honest conversation with the leadership team kind of give them another viewpoint on how they should look at them and treat them. Because if the perspective in the boardroom and leadership is IT is just there to support our business objective, or are there opportunity to enable business and add more value? And there are a lot of study done about this. If a company who actually have a mature security practice has about 10% more enterprise valuation than company that have nothing. And so during the M&A process, that's one of the huge part of a due diligence right now. Because nobody wants to buy a company and end up with a breach, and then end up paying for all that write-off afterthought.
Yep. From your perspective, why is there such a huge talent gap for cybersecurity and AI, right? When you look at the two largest talent gaps right now in the market, regardless of whether it's technology or not, it is still in cybersecurity and AI. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing in that space? Are you seeing more qualified candidates as some of these universities start to beef up their educational programs? How big is the gap from your perspective?
Well, I heard there are 600,000 open jobs just in U.S. government, and 4 million open jobs abroad. I mean, that's a huge gap. I think the acceleration of technology and adoption of technology is going so fast that all the things that need to support the change and adoption of a technology just cannot keep up. I mean, that just is what's going on. But talent gap and talent pool, I mean, I heard the same thing about plumber. I heard something about a lot of blue-collar jobs, too.
Yep.
Manufacturing jobs, especially now with AI, I think that's going to boom. So I think there's always this talent gap when there's a big shift in acceleration of a change. I think that's what's creating. But even though there's a lot of programs and master degree and vocational schools, that's really, and certification. I mean, there's a ton of certifications out there. Underlying issue to me is it's not the talent. I think it's the investment and then playing long game. So if organizations are not investing and creating that talent pipeline where you take one person and then invest in them and talent to the next level, how I would, military would do, and play a long game, then of course there's going to be continuous to be a gap.
Yeah. I think also from my perspective, the AI and the cybersecurity space is changing so rapidly that, at least in the university system, they're already 2 or 3 years behind. And it's hard to be able to deliver talent that is work ready when you're already 2 or 3 years behind, because those professors don't have real world experience because the landscape is changing so quickly. There's, I think, only so much you can do foundationally in those two arenas. But that's where I think universities are making big strides in this, but I still feel like their curriculum in this space, because it changes so quickly, is 2 or 3 years behind. I mean, you see more kids out of a university than we do from a technical perspective. I mean, how ready are they to go hands-on keyboard?
I mean, there's a difference between knowledge of acquisition. I mean, I can read 20 books about golf.
Yep.
But I'm not good. So to answer the question, how much reps they have put in, how much practice they have, and they're not ready. But I think a lot of it is how do we get them to current level to next level? So in our company, for instance, we have a mentorship program. As soon as somebody like that who's junior, they'll pair up with a senior and they actually observe what's actually happening. Also, we are very intentional about putting technical people, cybersecurity analysts, who are sometimes allergic to other human beings. We intentionally put them on the sales call so they can actually see what that actually means in the leadership level and the economic level, so they can understand the impact they make, both them bad and good. I think some of those things you cannot do that in the college campuses.
Yep. We're going to switch a little bit now. You speak to a lot of executives, a lot of CISOs. So we want to ask you some questions about what you're hearing from these folks. So when you're talking to some CISOs, what security risks are keeping these guys up at night?
I mean, the data, anybody can look up in AI and what are some of the source of breaches right now. I mean, the Verizon has a perfect report, data incident report. They report every day, every year, And right now, 50% are coming from social engineering. And then 33% are brute force access management. And then the rest, I think, another 30%. And it doesn't add up to 100% because there's some contributing and primary cause. And then the third one was the unpatched systems. So if you look at
it is amazing how many systems are unpatched.
Right, absolutely.
There's automated patching now.
Yeah, yes. So we can talk about all kinds of threats and threat landscape and a zero-day attack and what could happen, all the hypothetical scenarios and try to build a playbook. But going back to the fundamentals, so CISOs, understanding the data, especially the ones who pay attention to what's actually happening and risk-based approach, they want to make sure that the simple things are being done in a consistent way, according to the cadence. I think, and especially the people side, the social engineering. You can have millions of dollars of investment putting the firewall around and all the fortitude, but if one person click that void click, for instance, or void link, that was created by Claude within a week. Now the AI can generate the weaponized ransomware so quickly. There's no really, perfect protection for that. It's the person. So behavioral of every team members cross beyond the IT team. I think that's one of the key things because people are the biggest asset for the company, but also could be a biggest liability depending on which way they go. Are you seeing that a bigger creep from shadow IT on the AI front where there are organizations that are not giving these tools to their employees, so they're going out and using their own personal ChatGPT, their own personal Claude, and then that data is being shared to the LLM from a learning perspective when all they need to do is give them the tools because they're going to be using them anyway. Are you seeing a lot of that? On the AI or other cybersecurity tools as well? We're kind of going back and forth in AI and cybersecurity. Yeah, the tools are there and solutions out there. So if organizations do not make a decisive action on what tools they need it, and use it in a way that's conscious and effective for the rest of the team, of course. Even though you can put everything on their computer, everybody can pull up their phone and then use whatever tools they want. So it's not a question of if, it's more of a when and how they can roll out proper tools for the company. Yeah. But the biggest problem, I think, is why they stuck in not rolling out the tools because not being able to really define and refine the problem statement. What problems are we really trying to solve as organizations and make sure that AI tools are actually there to support that versus, we don't know what we need to do with this, and then kind of let everybody lose and come up with their own solution. I think that's where the gap is.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny. I think it was the UT system that had banned TikTok on their network, and you're like, these kids have phones. It doesn't matter that you banned it. They're still going to use it anyway. So, all right, let's see. When you're talking to CISOs, if they lost 3 of their top security tools, which one would they rebuild first?
Ooh, security tools. I mean, most of the times, security tools found out to be insufficient or
Okay.
or have some issues when there's an incident. Because if security tools are not supposed to go down, in fact, all the critical security tools that are monitoring and watching and making sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do also needs to be monitored by the team, obviously, because you cannot protect your home if no one's watching your alarm. So it's very important to do that. And I think that the security tools they need to fix first, if it goes down, is whatever is aligned with the business outcome, business objective. So if they found out that there's a security tool that's really monitoring the ERP system that has the biggest revenue impact on the businesses, I think that will be the first one to do. And risk-based. So risk-based, we always say risk-based and or the business impact-based is the way to do it. Mm-hmm.
If they had money to spend, or if you had money to spend, what security investment will give you the highest ROI?
I think the behavioral training tools, like awareness. It's not because I have some specific my own perspective on it. It's data show that that is an area of growth. And if you think about how much investment you need to put in and how much of
that's the least investment.
That's the least
investment. It's the cheapest thing.
It's one of the most cost-effective thing. And there's tools out there, right? Anywhere between $50 to $100 per year.
Yeah.
And then you have a good program to make sure that awareness stays there and everybody understand that why this is important for the business. And the business not trying to do this as a controlling way. They're doing this as a caring way. And continue to reframe it in a way that everybody understand why this is important. Not some money that everybody else has made, but let's protect our data and our customers and our company like a family. So that kind of a sentiment and emotional connection to the idea of protecting something valuable is where usually people don't make the connections. Because if we minimize it, reduce it down to do's and don'ts and click, not click, it's just not fun, And security is part of a business play. And you got to have alignment and draw a bigger picture and get everybody engaged emotional level. I think that's one of the key things. Yeah. But I think that's one of the most cost-effective way. And, of course, the endpoint security. Because laptops and all these endpoint devices are not just within the confinement of the firewall. And everybody can work at Starbucks, and home. So endpoint security is another one of the most cost-effective way to do it. Yeah. Just don't go with some cheap version out there or free version. There's a really good one out there by researching top 5, and I think that's a good investment.
It's funny you talked about the education, right? And that's not just education for the business, right? This is education that extends into their regular everyday life. Mm-hmm. Like one of the proudest moments that I had as a dad when my daughter took a screenshot and said, "Hey, this isn't real, is it?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, "No, but I'm so don't click on it." But like, at least you had the recognition to go, "Hey, there's something wrong here." Mm-hmm. With a link she was texted or something. So that education is necessary from a business standpoint, but it's also necessary in your everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because the last thing you want to hear is that some 70 or 80-year-old person lost their entire savings because they clicked on something. Mm-hmm. And that happens every day.
Yeah, I mean, especially with so much information and so much noise and more reliance and dependency on AI, if we don't ask critical questions, in addition to the information that's being fed to you, then, of course, you're going to lose the context of the content that you're getting. And I think you're right. The AI or any other information, when you're doom scrolling and just consuming information, you're not actually wake up and ask the questions. you think that you're going somewhere, but you're actually not going anywhere. So I think the cyber awareness is not just about do's and don'ts, but it's actually being able to ask those questions. So I'm proud of your son too. Yeah. He asked the right question.
Good. So let's dive into a little bit to your leadership philosophy. How would you describe your overall theme as a leader that you have inside of your organization?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Broad question. Do we have an hour?
We'll edit it down.
Yeah. Leadership. I mean, that's very important. I'm still learning. I'm showing up every day with a beginner's mind. I know this is about IT master. I think one of the key traits of master or mastery is having a beginner's mind.
Yep. Not
that you don't know anything. Showing up for sake of showing up, for joy of learning and being curious about, hey, how can I learn from this and get to the next level and learn from this. So to me, having that mind of staying hungry and staying aware about who you are and self-awareness. And self-awareness is one of the key leadership traits. So that's number one. In fact, one of the core values is a stay hungry and stay aware. So that's a key one. For me, there's two different types of leadership style. I mean, and I want to make sure that you and I both on the same page, that there's a difference between management and leadership.
Yep.
And we need both. Otherwise, the company will go bankrupt. Great leaders without good management, it's not going to work either. So stay focused on leadership. One of the key tenet in my leadership style will be that how do we create the conditions for people to flourish? Because there's no gardeners who will come to your home and then try to make your flowers open up or pull the tree to grow up faster. Only thing you can do is set the conditions around it in a way that they grow. How do you do that? Culture. You continue to treat them like sunflowers, as we talked about before, not mushroom. So I think the embodiment of the core values in a way that everybody can see. It's not about, as they say, example power. It's about power of example. I think that's the key thing. So you have a well-defined, just like cybersecurity policy or AI governance, core values, all there and nicely well-organized on your company. But actually living that out and embodying it and making sure that you're making decisions on that, I think that's what's going to really make it stick.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, what I try to do is, how do I make people's jobs easier? Right? So how do I get more out of them without creating more work? Like, what obstacles can I, try to alleviate for them? Because at the end of the day, the easier their jobs are, the more they're going to like it, the more they're going to have a better work-life balance, and the more the company's going to grow.
Absolutely.
But I think a lot of that goes into if you create the right culture, people will work harder for you. And again, that will translate into them making more money, the company making more money. But I think, when we talk about culture versus execution, right? I don't think you can execute your game plan. It could be the perfect plan that you have if you don't have everybody, pulling in the same direction, right? And that starts with your culture.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you talked about the result. In the end, the outcome is what we want, business outcome, results. But if you, what's the book called? The five dysfunction of a team, right? By Patrick Lencioni. Talks about the result on the being top, but one of the key foundation at the bottom is being able to have healthy conflict. Because without a healthy conflict, there's no commitment, and no accountability, and there's no result. So, and especially in our business, it's very adversarial business by design. We're talking about offense and defense and blocking, tackling, and ransomware and stress. So in that kind of environment that's moving fast, it's very important for the culture to have healthy conflict and have a disagreement without making into personal issues. So how do we do that? I think to draw more the best version of who they are and their current talent. We try to do that by having a really healthy conflict. And I got to be able to do that well. And one of the key leadership skill that we also talk about is how to fight well. How do you fight well? And do that in a way that people actually grow more rather than, staying contracted or shrink. And to your point, Robert, I think being able to have really healthy dialogue, because we're talking about really stressful situations. I mean, we just had another new client, who just got ransomware, and whole operation is down for 1 week, and we're talking about a lot of dollars. And how do we communicate and then deal with the law enforcement and the legal team and fight well to get this handled? And the last thing you want to do is show up with a blaming, shaming or guilt. No,
I told you so is probably not the way to go in that.
How do we move forward, and how to what's the path forward? So it's more of asking the empowering question rather than blaming and guilt. So one of my key questions I always ask it was something, because you got to also be honest. Like when the outcome is terrible and the results were not met, we got to have to ask the question, hey, so what happened? But how can I help to remove the hurdle? And that's one of the important questions that they would ask. Look back, oh yeah, these were the hurdles. Okay, let's work together to remove the hurdles so that you can actually get to where you want to go.
How have you found it, as a founder, it takes a certain amount of confidence in yourself, right? To start a company, to grow it, to build it. When you talked about sort of those healthy conflicts, right? How hard is it to take the ego out of it, to be able to listen and to hear other opinions on things, right? Because I think it's a very important skill, but I also think it's very hard for founders to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. I think I have a pretty healthy dose of ego.
As do I.
Yeah. There's a book called Ryan Holiday, The Ego is Enemy. Ego is Enemy. And in his book, it's very interesting how we define ego. Ego is not about like self-esteem. Ego is actually sense of separation. Like you're so special that you're separated from the rest of the team or organizations. That's ego. So for me, how do I remove ego is going the opposite. How do I build a culture of sense of belonging? How do I belong here? Like I'm part of this team. So you cannot just take something out, like ego, for instance, and then not have it. It doesn't work that way. We got to fulfill with something else. And I think if you agree with that definition, ego is being sense of separation and more of belonging. I'm part of this team. I'm unique, but not special in that sense. But I find myself to be impatient and sometimes harsh with my commentary on the result talked about, even with all the best intention. But I think kind of making sure that I'm understanding the impact that I'm making versus intention. Because how many times we hear, that was not my intention, as a way to kind of excuse what you said, especially leadership role. So I find myself saying that, especially to my wives a lot of times. But in the end, that's not matter. You got to own it. You got to own their narrative and own the impact, not just intention. And if you do that as a practice, I think eventually and naturally you're going to remove ego, but more on goals and outcome and where we're going together. Yeah, I think that becomes more of a natural outgrowth.
Yeah. One of the things that I sort of look back in my career is I worked for AT&T, right? Enormous company, 200,000 plus employees. And I was on the front lines with customers, and we're trying to get things done for them. And you go back and say, why is this going to take 14 weeks to do? Well, that's the way that we've always done it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a great learning point for me from an ego perspective. And when I started Magetics, it was, hey, if there's a better, faster way to do this, I don't care where the idea comes from, right? Because the outcome is pleasing the customer. If anyone comes into my office and says, this is the way that we've always done it, that's a great way to be turned around right out of my office.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's an intern or someone who's been there for 2 weeks or someone who's been here for 9 years, right? If you've got an idea, bring it to the table. We talk a lot about, people coming in with issues. And if they're coming in with an issue and they don't have a way to solve it, it could be the worst way possible to solve it, but at least they put some thought into it. Then you're just bitching.
Yeah.
And bitching doesn't do anybody any good in the organization. Come to me with something that we can build on to try to figure out how do we fix this, right? Yeah. So that was one of the, the key takeaways from me from an ego perspective was, hey, my alter ego wants to grow this business. My immature ego, didn't want to hear anything, right? And then I go back to AT&T 20 years ago. I go, oh, right, we can't fall into this, right? We've got to be customer focused first, and then let us figure out the process on the back end to enable us to service customers. So that was sort of the turning point for me of, over 20 years of making really bad decisions.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, really good point, and thanks for sharing, Robert. So yeah, I'm learning something every day from you. Yeah, you basically created a condition for yourself or the team that you're part of something bigger. It's not about that moment of complaining. In fact, we say when somebody complains, we say if you're complaining to the right person, the person who can fix it, it's not complaint anymore. It's actually conviction. You are actually care so much about that you got a voice. And when we do that, the person who's complaining realize that, hey, I'm actually part of something bigger. I'm actually bringing solution, maybe indirectly, we don't have a solution yet, so that we kind of expand our perspective, what's going on, rather than just looking at the one thing and then stay small in our mind.
Yep. And one of the things you said there reminded me, I had a mentor of mine, a guy named Curtis Minnis at AT&T, and he would tell me, you're not talking to the right person if they don't have the ability to say yes. Everybody underneath is conditioned to tell you no, right?
Yeah.
Do they have the ability to tell you yes? Yeah. If not, you're talking to the wrong person. So I've taken that with me over the years too. That and you catch more bees with honey.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Yeah. And we're not really good with handling no's anyway.
Correct. Yeah. What do you mean no?
What do you mean no?
Tell me, like every time someone tells me no, I want to know why.
Yeah.
Like why are you telling me no?
Yes. Yeah.
And then it's, oh, do you have the ability to tell me yes?
And yes, and what? Yes.
How do I get to a yes? As we sort of close out here, wanted to talk about some of your lessons learned, right? So what leadership lesson did you learn the hard way that changed the way that you operate today?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, like I said, I'm learning all the time. I think looking at situations, especially failures. I mean, I'm sure you have some share of failures.
We got a couple.
Yeah. Like I'm thinking of some crashing and burn, like disastrous, like absolute epic failure. And that moment, got to be able to look at it as an opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah? And how to weaponize that failure into something better and something good in a way that something good can come out of that is one thing. Because I find myself, because I'm techie, I love technology, and I can down to the rabbit hole of all the technology. But if we lose, we win the battles, but we lose a war, then what's the whole point? So instead of trying to figure out the one tactical things, which is necessary sometimes, but ask the right questions in a way that people who can say yes to that problem, to come up with the solutions, in a way that they can solve it on their own, so we can actually win a war together.
Yeah.
So even though I know the answer sometimes, and I know how to get there faster, creating that spaciousness in their heart and their mind in a way they can do it on themselves, I think that creates a good condition. So, and especially with AI, I can try to get to the solutions right away.
Yep.
And so just being able to listen, when especially I think I know the answer, is one of the key lessons for me.
Yeah, we do a lot of you can always do this and blame something, but sometimes you got to do this, right? And say, hey, what could I have done to change the outcome here, right? You can blame you can have every excuse in the book, right? And some of them are valid, and some of them are the reasons why things didn't happen. But you talked about learning, right? What can I learn, or what did I do, and how can I change my behavior to not have to go like this anymore, right? And to try to get a different outcome. Well, look in the mirror sometimes, and that'll be your true test, because it's much easier to lie to other people than to look at yourself and go, hey, you know what? I got to change this. Or I'm going to take a real lesson out of this, and I'm not going to make this same mistake next time.
Yes.
And those are also the things that you need to celebrate, right? It's not just about failures. It's, hey, what did I do here that got us this big win, or that got a great outcome for my customer or for my company, right? It's learning on both ways, and then being able to share that knowledge with the rest of the team. So we're on sales calls. We'll go through, hey, we had great wins. I think we learned more about the deals we didn't win.
Right. But to your point about, self accountability and mirroring yourself, I think the key is you do that without beating yourself down.
Yep.
So you got to I learned that separating that out, like my assignment, and then be able to game film the assignment and what I learned from it versus my identity. Because if you do that and then you continue to beat yourself down, it's not as fun. In fact, it actually doesn't get to the solutions, and it's not effective, because any fear or self-doubt and criticism actually makes us dumber. We cannot think clearly. So that's a great point. I think being able to separate, be able to talk about that situation, and be able to inform by the outcome versus defined by the outcome is one of the key things.
Yep. We talked about culture and how important culture was or is. What are some of the things that you do on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis to keep the culture embedded inside of the team? Are there activities that you do? I mean, how do you drive the culture inside of the organization?
I think two things. Any result, once we go through the process of defining the outcome, defining the result, and that person owns it, we make sure that it's self-accountability. Like that person reports it. Not manager, not somebody else report on their behalf as a mouthpiece. You report your thing. And then I think, of course, it's 100%, but that exercise really drives it, because there's ownership. There's extreme ownership, and I think that's one. So when we have the report, we invite everybody, and it doesn't have to be long narrative about what happened. It could be the outcome against the goal, and quick narrative what happened. But we go through that really quick, so everybody's so clear whether the goal was attained or not. And as I mentioned, I think the really healthy conflict and the healthy dialogue in a way that people can say what's in their mind, but also thoughtful comment in a way that we can get to the next level. So that's a lot of practice, because you can have communication where someone is completely withdrawn, completely passive, and doesn't care about what's going on. That's not good. Yeah. It's not good for the organizations, right? Yep. I think 33% of organizations are actually the engaged ones, study showed. And 20% actually have a side hustle organizations, and it's only led by 20%, 20% are super engaged. So how do you get that 80% into organizations? Because depending on what business is, like our business, we call it the weak link sport. Like soccer. It doesn't matter you have two rock star soccer players. If you have one weak link in your organizations, you're going to lose. Versus a baseball, it's more of like a strength or a strong link sport where you have a couple awesome players, you can still win.
Yep.
I think especially our organization in cybersecurity is actually a weak link sport. Think about it. So the trick is not how do you continue to elevate the top 20%, but how do you come alongside of the other 80% and then get them stay engaged, and then not fall into this pitfall of being disengagement or withdrawn and not caring. Because as soon as you don't think it's your problem, then problem's not going to be solved.
Yep.
One of the things that my mentor taught me was, after me complaining and bitching and moaning about some of the challenges, especially around the people problem, he patiently listened and said, whose problem is it? And like, what do you mean? I just spent 10 minutes. This is the people problem. No, whose problem is it? And who hired them? Who's keeping them? Who's nurturing them? And, oh, shoot. I know where this is going.
This guy.
It's my problem. But as soon as that clicks, it's your problem, then you can actually get to the solution.
Yep. Is there anything that you guys do unique for sort of employee morale? How do you keep the team sort of energized, and do you do fun stuff with the team?
Yeah, we're 80% virtual. We have a team here in the South Lake office, so it's really hard to get everybody together and have a rallying moment and celebrate, which we plan to do this year as we become more in-person office company. But I think here's one thing that I've been getting consistently good feedback on. We call it High Five Friday. Okay. Because including myself, especially cybersecurity professionals, what are we looking for most of the times by our default mode? Problems. We're looking for problems to solve. A lot of problem solvers. So if we don't actually take a moment and make intentional occasion to celebrate wins and show gratitude, it's really hard. It just kind of doesn't happen. So every Friday, which I'm actually missing right now, thanks for the invitation.
You should have told us. We would have rescheduled.
We have this High Five Friday where one person needs to show gratitude to one person. It's not just, oh, hey, so-and-so team, thank you for that. No, we make it very personal. So we have very specific way to do that. It's kind of practice. So you got to be very specific situation and how that make you feel when that happened. And what's the impact for that? Because, even if you're in a restaurant and you say thank you to a waiter or waitress, that's one way to do it. But if you just take a little bit more time and thank them for a specific way they served you and why, you'll notice that they're, as a receiving end of it, they just really opens up.
Yeah. And
it's amazing how that changes people's mind and heart. So we call it High Five Friday, and that's one of my favorite meetings.
So they don't get 5 gummies on High Five Friday?
Since we're in Texas, we're in the gummy thing. So we do that, and then we have actually something called the I forgot it.
Blunt Tuesdays?
No. We have this award system in our company app that we can actually give each other this cashless awards.
Okay.
Yeah. And we do that in a way that everybody has a certain number of, it's still cash. I mean, you can convert to the gift, and I don't want to give shameless plug for this app. And everybody has a reserve, and people who receive a lot of kudos and high fives, they go more. And so they get to give to others along with their feedback and gratitude. So everybody has a way to thank them, but also just not word, but also in the form of a gift.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. Well, share that with me offline, because that's something that we should probably put in. Because I love when people on my team send me gifts.
Oh, okay.
John, I really appreciate you being here today. You gave us a lot of great insight on the security environment. You gave us a lot of great insight on your leadership style, how you got to this point, and just very thankful for your time today and sharing your knowledge with us. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Robert.
Thanks for tuning in to the IT Masters podcast, where technology's top leaders share their winning strategies. Subscribe now and stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of IT. Until next time, keep innovating and leading the way.